Hi there, my name's Holly and welcome to Ask a Tattoo Artist, my series of videos where I answer your questions about tattooing and tattoo related stuff from the point of view of a tattoo artist. So today's question I'm going to be answering is, how did you find your own style? This is a question that was asked to me on my Instagram, and I think it really spoke to me because I know it's something that I kind of struggled with when I was getting into tattooing, was this notion of what's my style and how can I get my tattoos to look a certain way, because it can be quite overwhelming when you first get into creating art. You'll naturally be looking at other people's work around you who are maybe in the same kind of field as what you're in, and you can think, oh god, I'm never going to be any good. All these people have got their very distinct style, how can I find mine? So I guess I'm going to answer this question from the point of view of like what I did, but also recognizing that your own personal style, I think, is something that evolves and changes over time. So when I first started drawing, I was drawing lots of like dreamy, spacey lady faces, which I guess now I think about it is quite interesting, because now my tattooing has started to catch up with my original way that I used to like to paint and draw, but it took me a little while to get there. So when I first started actually tattooing, I would have told you that my style was as a blackwork artist, so I did a lot of big lines, mandalas, dot worky, texturally kind of things. I had a big switch that happened when I went from using coil machines to using rotary machines. I found that affected the way that I worked, because it affected the kind of quality of the lines that I was achieving using my machines and different textures that I could achieve, and that ended up inspiring my work a lot as I was using my machines in that different way to create tattoos. And then as time went on, I got more interested in colour work and sort of eventually bringing the two things together, so dot worky textural elements as well as colour tattoos, bringing them together to make more of like a fully realised thing. But it took me a little while to get there. I mean, I've been tattooing for just over 6 years, so it took me a little while to get there, and I'm always learning new things, and I'm always finding new ways of doing stuff and finding different things, like different ways that inspire me. So I feel in that way my style is always changing and evolving, but in a more gradual, subtle way now, because I think generally when people come to me for a tattoo, my work looks a certain way, it has a certain feel to it, and that's what people are coming for, because they want a tattoo of that ilk. So how do you go about finding your own style? That's the sort of million-dollar question. And weirdly, I was just talking to my friend about this the other night. I don't think there's any substitute for it other than just practice, practice, practice. Just keep drawing, keep painting, keep creating in whatever way you enjoy. And just naturally over time, your own style will come. I think sometimes it can be helpful if you see an artist that you admire to try and replicate their work. So I know I've done it if I see a way that someone's done a particular way of doing lines or a way of doing shading that I really like, or the way in which they put together their colours. I don't think there's any shame in emulating that and taking little bits of it, and by that making it your own. I'm not talking about copying, I mean to emulate bits of things that you admire, and by that way you become a sort of mixing pot of all the things that you love and that you're attracted to. And so then completely the opposite to that, I think it can also be helpful to not look at anybody else's work and to be inspired by other things. So sometimes I take a little break from Instagram, so I'm not looking at other people's tattoo work, and then I'll be more getting my inspiration from the world around me and from nature and from films that I've seen, and computer games quite often inspire me. I just did a drawing a couple of weeks ago based on a white elk from the new Assassin's Creed game, because I saw this white elk in the game and I just thought it was so beautiful, so I wanted to recreate that but in my own way. So I think finding your own style is something that just will happen by accident with time, and the only way to really do it is to persevere and stick with it. It can be quite tempting to go into it thinking like, well, I'm going to be a line work artist, I'm going to do this one specific style of tattoos because I've seen them on the internet and I like them, and obviously that is valid, but I think it can be really helpful to deliberately do something that's completely outside of your comfort zone, because you will, by doing that, learn things that then benefit you working in the style that you originally wanted to work in. So I know when I first got started tattooing, I wasn't really interested in black and grey portraiture, and I ended up doing it anyway because that's what my apprenticeship was like. I was taught to be an all-round competent artist, and I ended up really falling in love with black and grey portraiture and enjoying it, and then applying those techniques to my other work. So I think all those little ways of doing things help you develop your own style by just trying new things, and like I said, picking different bits from things that inspire you to kind of bring it all together and become your own style. Because I personally think that by kind of keeping your options open and trying different techniques and trying different ways of doing things and not being too attached to an outcome, that is kind of how you learn and how you'll end up becoming a more competent artist all round. Because it could be that that's the stuff that you never even show anybody, that it just sits in a sketchbook and it's only for you, but I know that I find it helps me to think more broadly creative if I'm trying all kinds of different things and not just being rigidly attached to an outcome of wanting a piece to look a certain way. So I hope that answer is helpful. Thank you for taking the time to ask me a question. As always, if you have a question for me, you can ask me in the comment section or come and find me on Instagram. My name there is @Holly_Astral. And that's it from me, and I hope to see you next time. Bye.